Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome back into another edition of Astros Recap. David Artis back at it. Sunday night, super late actually, 11:57 p.m. So we got 3 minutes until we hit officially Monday morning. Happy Labor Day to those that are watching this on Monday. Yeah, I'll take you into the early morning hours here. We'll see how far we get. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of these at the station the last few weeks. Astros did not play an afternoon game today, so that was obviously like I couldn't do it. But the Astros had a very rough end to the week. The last three games obviously being swept by the Yankees here at Minute Maid Park. So the phrase I used for this sweep, being swept, the Astros should be ashamed of themselves. That's how I put it. So those that watch my podcast that know me pretty well, I'm pretty negative on these podcasts. Something I'm working on, but I call it how I see it. I'm very hard on the Astros. That's the type of fan I am. But that also shows I care, right? So, but yeah, I'm not very glass half full, fanboy. The Astros, they really just crapped the bed this weekend in front of the home faithful for the most part. I think most of those games over the weekend, I can't confirm this, I'd say most of them were probably sellouts because, well, the Yankees draw a big crowd. In fact, a lot of Yankees cheers tonight, I felt like. But, it was not a good weekend at all, especially after this sort of week of Astros baseball, sort of a microcosm of the season. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. The Astros are up, they're down, up, down. They swept the Red Sox at Fenway Park. And then they come home and they basically cough it all back up, all the hard work they just did. So, very frustrating week to say the least, the way it ended. And the Astros had an opportunity this weekend. The Mets won 2 of 3 against Seattle, and so did the Twins against the Rangers. So the Astros had a chance if they could just take 2 or 3. They're playing the worst team in the AL East, the Yankees. They have been a bad baseball team. And they've they really didn't make a lot of moves at the deadline. I think they added 2 relievers maybe, very minor moves. But they've sort of cashed in the year and are bringing up their top prospects, and those are the guys contributing for them. I know Judge got him for a few home runs. I think Stanton hit one on Friday as well. But to be quite honest, I didn't watch a whole lot of Astros baseball this week, and I was sort of consumed all weekend by college football. So I didn't even watch a whole lot of the Astros. Now today I watched a little bit more than I did on Saturday and Friday. I hardly watched a second of the game on Friday. I was out doing stuff. I was just out on Friday, so I didn't really watch a whole lot of that game. But Saturday I tuned in a little bit. Today I tuned in even more. I felt like, I was watching a lot of college football, so I really didn't watch a whole lot of Astros baseball. But still, things were so good at up in Boston, and then to come back here and get swept by a bad baseball team the Astros should be ashamed. And they have no time. They're probably on a plane right now headed to Arlington. They're going to play a baseball game in 15 hours, so Usually there's plenty of blame to go around. The Astros scored 1 run tonight, so you don't win games when you score 1 run. You don't win a whole lot of games when you score 2 runs, and they did that on Friday. So the offense deserves a lot of blame. I'm going to focus on some pitching, though, this week more so, because that's sort of been the Achilles heel of the Astros, at least, for a few months now. Pitching was good to start the year. You had Valdez, you had Christian Javier, and that was sort of your 1-2 punch, and they were, as advertised or, for the first few months. They've both sort of fallen. Christian Javier more so than Framber Valdez, but they've both been pretty bad. They're pitching more like 4 and 5 in the rotation rather than 1 or 2. You added Verlander. He stunk Friday. He had 2 back-to-back good starts where he didn't allow any runs. Friday was not a good start. He's had 2 very bad starts for the Astros. One was Friday. The other one was in Miami, I believe. A game they actually won because the offense bailed them out, but Friday was not good. But you're not getting sort of length from your starters right now, and you're not getting good outings. It's just that simple. I think the bullpen's been okay. A few guys I'm not thrilled with in the bullpen. Phil Maton came back off the IL. I don't think he's been very good since coming back. I do like Kendall Graveman, the move they made there. I'd like to see Kendall Graveman more so in leverage spots. Bring him in more so when you have runners on base. Him inheriting runners I trust a lot more. I don't know why Dusty continues to use Phil Maton in those spots. Like Kendall Graveman, I would have more faith that he could get out. I mean, Kendall Graveman hasn't been perfect. I mean, he's given up his, fair share of runs, I'd say, since being, traded over here. But I feel like I would trust him more so. I don't care if it's the fifth inning, to be quite honest with you. I know right now Dusty's sort of like if he only gets like 4 or 5 innings out of a starter, he likes to go to Montero, who has been better, but Montero's still not used ever in the 7th, 8th inning, which is right. I mean, you shouldn't be. I won't trust Montero to pitch in those spots. I mean, you have, usually Abreu, and these are winning situations, close games, tied if they're up a run or two. Usually, the game plan has been Abreu, Presley, 8-9. 7, you'll see a lot of Neris maybe. But, overall with the bullpen, I'm not upset with. It's the starters. The starters are the problem right now. And when starters can't do their job and go and give you length, that's going to put your bullpen in a bad situation. So, it's a cause and effect type of thing. But the offense, we've talked about the offense all year. They've been an issue. When they're not, they're fully healthy now, so there's really no excuses. They played most of the year without Altuve and without, Alvarez, at least for a good part of the season. And, at that point in time, Brantley's still hurt. Everybody's back. Like, there's no more excuses. And the Astros just completely crept the bed over the weekend. It's just an awful weekend for them. But yeah, you go into Fenway. I mean, you put up. I mean, the starting pitching wasn't phenomenal as they're hitting. They scored so many. I mean, they were doing great. I mean, they basically followed up. The last weekend in Detroit, scoring 9 runs Saturday, 17 Sunday. They rolled to Boston, scored 13, 8, 7. I mean, offense really came out and did the job. And you got Brantley back Tuesday. So the offense got deeper. Abreu is still just, God, I've hated him at first base all year, basically. He's been so bad. He had one decent, I think it was decent in the month of June, but that was it. I'm not going to go through all these games. Let's see here. The Monday game was, I'm thinking, it was Javier. Went 4 innings. 4 earned runs, 6 walks. That's just what Javier's been. I'm so sick and tired. I'll wait to talk about this, but I got some choice thoughts about Javier and the way people like to talk about him. But yeah, the offense was a story there. Offense was a story in really all the games up there. J.P. France did bounce back after his poor outing, the previous week against the Red Sox. He bounced back, had a good outing. He's 10-5. 3.49 ERA. So J.P. France, only 2 starts have been bad for him, which was, last week against, Boston. Coming up on 2 weeks now, but also 1 start early, like his 2nd or 3rd start. First one at home against Chicago, the Cubs. But 5 2/3, 5 hits, 200 runs. He's never going to strike out a bunch of guys, but 3 Ks, 1 walk. And then, sort of the bullpen roll call there to get the win 8-2. Scored 8 runs. You got to win that game. And then 7-4 Wednesday. That was a Valdez. Let's see what Valdez did. I'm just curious to see here. If I can find it here. Never make this thing easy. 6 innings. 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 earned. Not a great start, but struck out 5. Didn't walk anybody. His previous start to that one was a Friday in Detroit where he went like 6 or 7 no-hit innings, but also walked like 5 or 6 guys. So, but Valdez got the win, 10-9. I trust Valdez more than I do Javier these days. I mean, there's no question about that. Off day Thursday, and then, Friday they stunk. Verlander was terrible. Saturday they stunk. Hunter Brown was terrible. Sunday they stunk. Christian Javier was terrible. And the offense also deserves a good portion of the blame, especially on Friday and Sunday. Scored 4 runs Saturday, so that sort of can get you a win if you get a good start, but the Astros did not. Which actually brings me to my next point. Hunter Brown has been very underwhelming this year. Like, I would have expected him to be better than what he is. He's 10-10 this year. 10-10. But the ERA is at 4.53. And the way I look at pitchers, starting and relieving, really, I know people like all these advanced numbers like XPF and FIP, fielding independent pitching, all these stupid numbers that I think is just stupid, to be quite honest with you. I stick to the basic numbers, old school baseball, which is wins and losses, ERA, and strikeouts for pitchers. And in my mind, I've always made the mark that 4 ERA is the marker for me. If you're below 4, I can give you some credit. If you're above 4, you don't get any credit. And he's at 4.53, so that's not a good ERA. And anyway, it's more than 4.5. I mean, I make my mark at 4, but if you're over 4, then you're not good. He's over 4.5. So Hunter Brown's been very, I know he had a very small sample size last year. And I felt like, going into the year, he's actually sort of their 6th starter. If everybody stayed healthy, I'm not going to get into Lance McCullers because I hate talking about Lance McCullers. I'll get worked up every time. But, Garcia gets hurt, Urquidy gets hurt. Brown actually started the season in the rotation as the 5th guy. But I thought he showed promise last year where he was my Rookie of the Year pick going into the season. But, yeah, I mean, he floated in, the 3s for a while. He was very inconsistent. He had one start I can remember against, I want to say the Mariners, where he really blew up, basically. That's what ballooned his ERA over 4, and he can't get it back down. So I have really no faith in Hunter Brown pitching whatsoever in a postseason game if the Astros get there. I have to continue to say if the Astros get there because I'm not convinced at this point. And after this weekend, how could you be? So, anyway, but Hunter Brown needs to be better. He's been very underwhelming in terms of what I thought we could get from him. But that was a Saturday game. Yeah, Verlander wasn't very good. I didn't give you a link, I don't think. God, stupid thing. Stupid thing. Takes forever just to try to get to the stupid thing I'm trying to get to here. And then things don't load in this room for some stupid reason. All right. He actually went 6 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs. That's terrible. That's awful. 6 earned runs. You could go 9 innings and give 6 runs. It'd still be a terrible start. So, yeah, I mean, ERA still isn't terrible, 3.34. He gave 4 home runs. That's Verlander's big thing. Usually if Verlander's struggling, he's giving up home runs. He got 4 home runs. And then Phil Maton came in. Like I said, the bullpen does their job mainly. If the Astros get him a lead, our bullpen, I feel like, doesn't blow a lot of games. And they usually are good at keeping things where they're at. I know Urquidy today gave up 3 insurance runs there in the 9th inning, so it wasn't good. But for the most part, we can hold a lead, I feel like, our bullpen. But Javier, it's same old, 6 innings, 3 earned runs. A quality start, but 8 strikeouts, no walks. This is getting to my Javier thing. So, by the way, Graveman got an inning in, walked a guy, struck out 2, and then Urquidy got 2 innings in, but he could not, keep things where they were at. So Urquidy's been very disappointing. Now, again, he's been hurt for the majority of the year, so I'm not going to pile on him. They're sort of using him out of the bullpen these days more so. We'll see how that continues to work out. But Urquidy, a 5.55 ERA. Again, only pitched like maybe 2.5 months of the year, feels like. So yeah. But yeah, that sort of put things out of reach for good there when he gave up 3. But to go back to Christian Javier, every start, like, people are looking for signs that Javier can show to, like, show, I guess, that he is turning the corner. Looking for just minor things with Javier. And we do this every start, I feel like. And this is specific. This is like the radio broadcast. Robert Ford and Steve Sparks do this. I feel like I've heard this numerous times from them. But they'll look at Javier and be like, "Hey, look, his fastball velocity is back up there." Or look at the tight break on that breaking ball. Or he looks more comfortable today. Like today, I heard that numerous times. It's like, I'm not going to give Javier credit until I see him actually finish an outing. He's been awful. Like, I can't sit back and watch this guy pitch every 5th or 6th day or whatever the way Dusty likes to use the rotation. He should not be a starter anymore. I'd rather see Urquidy start than Javier. Javier should go to the bullpen. Urquidy should be brought back. That's the way I would do it. I mean, but I hear, Robert Ford and Steve Sparks. I might have heard this on the TV broadcast as well with Todd Callis and Jeff Blum. But they, try to find, excuses to make it seem like he's turned a corner, and then he goes out and pitches the same he's pitched for. I mean, Javier hasn't been good since, early June. Because you remember, Javier had 3 terrible starts going into the All-Star break. So bad they actually they skipped his final start before the All-Star break to give him, a 2-week sort of reset. He comes back after the All-Star break, and he's not any better than what he was. 4.65 ERA. That's Hunter Brown territory. But those 2 guys have been terrible. Obviously, J.P. France is their best starter. I don't think there's any if and but so about it. J.P. France has been their best starter this year, which is crazy to say, but that's the truth. Verlander has not been very consistent. Valdez, you never know what you'll get with Valdez. I don't have any faith in him, to be quite honest with you, either. But yeah, I mean, starting pitching just scares me. I had J.P. France going tomorrow, so I feel pretty good about that. And then the offense is sort of hit or miss. But I said earlier the Astros had their chance this weekend. I mean, they got some help from some teams, but they didn't. I mean, this isn't like previous years when if you got swept in a series or you lost 2 or 3, things were fine because you had that comfortable lead and you had the division sort of on cruise control, and that's not the case anymore. So they're 1 game out of first. They're tied with Texas. Now things will change because they play Texas for the next 3 games here. But they're tied with them. Now they played 2 more games than Texas. And 2 more games than 2 more games than 2 more games than Seattle and Texas. So the Astros obviously have off days every Thursday throughout the rest of the year. So we'll get caught up there. But yeah, it was not a good into the week. 3-3 this week. Really, I mean, after they swept Boston, it was you expected a 5-1 week. Things change based on how things start to play out, but 4-2 is usually the goal. The Astros couldn't even do that. So yeah. 3rd time they've been swept this year. First time was against the Reds. That was also at home. And the last time was just, 2 weeks ago against Seattle, which was also at home. So they've been swept 3 times all year. 3 different teams, all at home. Cincinnati, Seattle, and now New York. Now, the Yankees have gotten us a few times during the regular season. They never beat us come postseason, and they're not going to be part of the postseason this year unless they go on some miraculous run. But they're 8.5 games out of the 3rd wildcard spot, so I wouldn't worry too much about them. Kind of curious to look at sort of schedule. I know people talked about strength of schedule, and the Astros have a pretty light schedule. But again, after this weekend, I don't want to hear about strength of schedule. But the Blue Jays play the A's starting tomorrow, so you're probably not going to get a whole lot of help there. But a lot of afternoon games. It's Labor Day, so that's sort of how it works. Some of the Monday holidays, so a lot of people playing in the afternoon. Astros get at it, and they got a turn the page quickly here because it's a big series. It's your last series against Texas. The Astros have played Texas pretty well the last few series. Now they need one more win here. That's not the goal, obviously, but if they get one win, hopefully that's tomorrow, they will have won the season. They would have won 8 games, which would give them the sort of season series against the Rangers. So they'd have the tiebreaker there. They will not have it against the A's, or not the A's, the Mariners, because they're 2-8. So they could sweep them next time, which would be awesome, but they wouldn't have the season series. And they don't have it against the Blue Jays. Those are the 3 teams you're looking at. So you get the division that's jumbled at the top, but also Toronto's a game and a half out of the 3rd wildcard spot, which the Astros currently hold. So the Blue Jays are a team you got to watch out for. Now, from them to the Red Sox, there's a 4-game sort of gap there. So, like, the Red Sox are 5.5 back. So, and the Astros swept them to actually widen that gap. So, yeah, it's usually 4 teams battling for 3 spots, and Toronto's on the outside looking in right now. But whoever wins our division, the AL West, the Astros division, is going to have the 2nd seed, which gives you that bye. So that's what's to get, and you're a game out of that. So, but you still got to beat Texas at least 2 or 3. Well, I won't say at least. They need to beat them 2 or 3. That's always the goal. Every series, 2 or 3, 2 or 3, 2 or 3. But yeah, as far as our lineup, I know a lot of times on these podcasts I focus on the pitching side of things. I sort of like to go through the lineup quickly. It's hard to give you. Altuve was terrible today, but he's still hitting 307. Bregman up to 266. He actually had 2 hits today. Alvarez 291. He was banged up. We'll see if he plays tomorrow. I know fans have been upset because Chas McCormick has not been in the lineup. Brantley was DHing today. Abreu's just 234. I mean, at least Bregman's raised the average to 266 and Pena to 259. You know, the big issue in the lineup all year has been Bregman, Abreu, and Pena. But at least Bregman and Pena have actually stepped up their game a little bit. They both had 2 hits today. But Abreu just continues to just be a complete non-factor. And it's amazing that Dusty continues to stick him in the 5-hole every single game. It's just, it's crazy to me. And obviously, Dusty's going to play Moldy, 60% of the time. And I've gotten to the point this year where it's just, listen, I'm not going to beat the dead horse, which is continuing to question Dusty's obsession with Martin Maldonado and these pitchers. Like, we're not pin it all on Dusty. Like, Verlander likes pitching to Maldonado, and so does who is it? Like, it's Hunter Brown, I guess. Fromber and Verlander both have to have Maldi catching them, which is stupid. But I as a manager, me personally, I couldn't put a 184 hitter in the lineup 4 to 5 days a week. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I don't care what these pitchers want. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I would go to the pitchers and be like, listen, I'm not putting this guy who leads the league in pass balls, can't throw out runners anymore, hits 184 in the lineup every day. It's just that simple. So that's just me. But I've at the point with Dusty, he's gonna Dusty. Dusty's gonna do what he wants to do, and I'm just gonna learn to live with it. Now, McCormick should be in the lineup. Also, I didn't watch this part of the game yesterday. I fell asleep, I think. But the Astros pinch hit Chas McCormick, and I'm not the biggest McCormick guy. I get that, but McCormick's been good this year. I mean, he's had a good year. He's been sort of, he's not very consistent. Like, he got hot there for a little bit, but he's still hitting. Like, I can't argue the average. And the average from McCormick's 281. I can't argue that. But they pinch hit Singleton, who's been, he's hitting 160 this year. They pinch hit Singleton from McCormick last night. That is just like, I don't know what Dusty was thinking. I don't know what the issue was, but Yeah. Dusty needs to definitely retire after this year. I'm just done with him as manager. It's Joe Espada's time. But Dusty's just, I don't like the way he does things. I just don't. And I think most of the fan base feels that way. In fact, I haven't been the biggest Dusty, I'll criticize Dusty, okay? But I don't, I am not, the leader of the Dusty Baker club of people that, criticize him. I don't agree with his decisions, but again, like I said, I get to the point where he's going to do what he does. But yeah, I don't like him as manager of this baseball team. That simple. Coming up on 25 minutes, I'm going to wrap things up here. Astros obviously have 3 against the Rangers, big series, off day Thursday, and then we'll go into Friday where the Astros will play the, let's see, I don't even know. This weekend it will be San Diego. The Padres back at home. Like to stay out on the road a little bit more because the Astros are a better road team. But, yeah, they have to come back home to play San Diego. But starting next week, a week from what's now Monday, that's when they get the Oakland A's at home, and then they go on the road to play the Royals. Baltimore after that, which is a tough one. They stay home. They get Kansas City for 3 more. And then the big series against Seattle and Arizona to finish out the year. So they got to get things going here. It's time to win baseball games. And, yeah, it's not like we're just in cruise control for the last month like they've done, for a lot of years in the past. So, but we'll wrap things up there. Next Sunday should be at work. 1 o'clock game. So, should hear from me at the iHeartMedia studios next Sunday evening. We'll see you then.